He was the talent behind some of the most incredible custom motorcycles ever built. But viewers knew him best for the explosive fights with his father that made reality TV history. Paul Teutul Jr. dominated screens for years on American Chopper, creating works of art, while his relationship with his dad crumbled in real time. Then, one day, he was gone, fired on camera, dragged through courts, and silent for a decade. What happened to the man who seemed destined for greatness? The truth is darker than anyone expected, but where he ended up might surprise you even more. April 2009 marked the moment everything exploded. Cameras rolling, tensions at their peak, Paul Sr. fired his own son on national television. But this wasn't just another scripted reality TV moment. The anger was real, the pain was real, and millions watched a family destroy itself. Paul Jr. had spent years as the creative genius behind Orange County Choppers, designing bikes that pushed boundaries while his father took the credit. Every build became a battlefield, every conversation another screaming match. The environment had turned toxic long before that final confrontation. Jr. would later admit he'd lost all joy in building motorcycles, something he'd loved since childhood. Working with his father had become unbearable. The constant criticism, the public humiliation, the pressure of performing for cameras while trying to maintain some dignity. It was killing him inside. When the firing happened, Paul Jr. knew he had two choices: fight back or walk away broken. He chose to fight, but the rules were stacked against him. A non-compete clause meant he couldn't build motorcycles for an entire year. His father controlled the company, the brand, and most of the resources. Jr. was left with his reputation and his talent, and even those were being questioned. Industry insiders wondered if he'd been riding his father's coattails all along. The kid who'd grown up welding in his dad's shop now had to prove he was more than just Paul Sr.'s son, and the battle was just beginning. While viewers moved on to other shows, the Teutuls were tearing each other apart in court. Paul Sr. filed a lawsuit to force his son to sell his 20% stake in Orange County Choppers. Jr. countered with his own legal action, claiming the company was being mismanaged. Lawyers got rich while father and son bled money, fighting over a business that was falling apart around them. The details were ugly. Paul Sr. wanted total control and was willing to destroy his son to get it. Jr. refused to be pushed out of something he'd helped build from nothing. Court documents revealed just how broken their relationship had become. These weren't business disputes, they were personal attacks, wrapped in legal language. Appeals, counter-appeals, motions, and hearings dragged on for years. Then came the real gut punch. In 2018, Paul Jr. filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. The talented designer who'd once been worth millions was drowning in debt. He listed over $1 million in assets, but his liabilities were crushing him. The bankruptcy filing revealed he owed more than $50 grand in taxes alone. His Montgomery home, worth nearly $2 million, was at risk. The lawsuit with his father finally settled in 2011 when Paul Sr. bought out Jr.'s share of OCC. But the damage was done. The relationship was destroyed, the family fractured, and Jr.'s finances were in ruins. He'd won his freedom, but lost almost everything else. And through it all, they didn't speak a single word to each other. 10 years. That's how long Paul Teutul Jr. and his father went without speaking. No phone calls, no messages, no contact at all. For a decade, they lived separate lives, building separate businesses, pretending the other didn't exist. The cameras had captured their explosive fights, but nobody saw the quiet devastation that followed. Jr. threw himself into Paul Jr. Designs, his new company. After waiting out that brutal non-compete clause, he finally got back to building bikes. But everything was different now. He was working alone, without the resources of OCC, without his father's connections, without the support system he'd grown up with. Every client he landed, he earned himself. Every design he created had to prove he wasn't just famous for fighting. The work helped distract him from the pain, but it didn't heal anything. In interviews years later, he'd admit how tough that period was. The toxic relationship had done more damage than he realized. He'd spent so many years being screamed at, criticized, and torn down that he'd forgotten what it felt like to enjoy his craft. The year away from motorcycles had actually helped him remember why he'd fallen in love with building in the first place. But the silence between father and son was deafening. Family gatherings became impossible. Holidays were divided. His brother Mikey was caught in the middle, trying to maintain relationships with both. The Teutul family had become a cautionary tale about what happens when business and family collide. And still, neither man would pick up the phone. August 2010 brought a bright spot in the darkness. Paul Jr. married Rachel Beester at the Bonnet Island estate in New Jersey, and for once, cameras captured something beautiful instead of destructive. The couple had met on the set of American Chopper when Rachel appeared as a model. Their wedding was featured on Say Yes to the Dress, showing a softer side of the man viewers knew only as an angry bike builder. Rachel became his anchor. While Paul Jr. was fighting legal battles and building his business from scratch, she stood beside him. She wasn't just a wife. She became vice president of Paul Jr. Designs, helping run the company while he focused on the creative work. Her fashion boutique, Oliver Ann Boutique in Hudson Valley, showed she had her own ambitions too. Then, in February 2015, everything changed again. Their son, Hudson 7 Teutul, was born, and Paul Jr. discovered something he hadn't expected. Fatherhood would heal wounds he didn't know how to fix himself. Holding his son, he started thinking about his own father differently. The anger began to soften, replaced by understanding and grief for all the wasted years. Faith played a role too. In his 2017 book, The Build, Paul Jr. opened up about how spirituality became central to his healing journey. He wrote about forgiveness, growth, and learning to let go of bitterness. The transformation wasn't instant, but slowly, the man who'd been consumed by anger was becoming someone else entirely, someone ready to consider the impossible, talking to his father again. Nobody expected this twist. The guy famous for building outrageous custom choppers and screaming matches quietly became something the motorcycle world never saw coming, a respected automotive authority and car collector. At 50, Paul Teutul Jr. now judges at prestigious concours d'elegance events like the Amelia and Greenwich, wearing a straw hat and evaluating million-dollar classics. The transformation baffled everyone. Traditional concours judges, the old money types who'd been in the game for decades, didn't know what to make of this reality TV star showing up in their world. Some saw him as blue-collar trying to play in a blue blood game. Paul Jr. didn't care. He knew his background in restoration and fabrication gave him knowledge most of them would never have. At the Amelia in 2024, he proved his worth. When judges were choosing between a prettier classic Benelli and a rare 1973 Ducati 750 Supersport with racing pedigree, Paul Jr. pushed for the Ducati. History, beauty, and scarcity mattered more than surface appeal. He won that argument and earned respect in the process. His car collection grew too, vintage automobiles from the 30s and 40s, bikes with original patina that he barely touched beyond making them run. The guy who'd built over-the-top custom choppers now appreciated subtle, authentic preservation. It was like watching someone completely reinvent themselves. But he never forgot his roots. Paul Jr. Designs continued taking on corporate clients and film projects, including bikes for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and custom builds for Blizzard's World of Warcraft. He'd evolved without abandoning who he was. 2018 brought the impossible. After 10 years of silence, Paul Teutul Jr. and Paul Sr. reunited for an American Chopper reboot on Discovery Channel. The announcement shocked fans who'd assumed the relationship was destroyed beyond repair. But something had shifted in both men. Time, therapy, and maybe some TV network money had opened a door neither thought they'd walk through again. The reunion wasn't smooth. Old patterns don't die easily, and their first episode back showed them falling into familiar arguments while working on a bike build. But something was different underneath. The anger had lost its edge. They were trying, genuinely trying, to rebuild something. The show documented their separate lives more than their collaboration. Junior at his shop with his team, Senior at OCC with his crew, occasionally coming together for special projects. The 2020 finale, The Last Ride, showed them working on a motorcycle together at Orange County Choppers. It was symbolic, bittersweet, and felt like closure. Paul Jr. was clear about boundaries, though. They'd reconciled as father and son, but working together full-time, that ship had sailed. Too much damage, too many years lost. He told People magazine it had been a tough situation for both of them, years of being at odds. The reconciliation was real, but realistic. They could be in each other's lives without repeating past mistakes. The healing mattered more than the cameras. After a decade of silence, they were talking. That alone was something neither thought would happen. The rest was just details. Today at 50, Paul Teutul Jr. is unrecognizable from the angry young man who got fired on television 15 years ago. He's calmer, more philosophical, more secure in who he is. The transformation didn't happen overnight, but it happened completely. The rage that defined him on screen has been replaced by something deeper. Wisdom earned through pain. His days now split between multiple worlds. High-profile corporate commissions through Paul Jr. Designs keep the business thriving. Concours judging gigs bring him into elite automotive circles that once would have laughed him out of the room. His family, Rachel and Hudson, give him the stability he never had growing up. And a new TV show in the works promises to share his story with a new generation, this time on his terms. The podcast he launched in 2021 revealed sides of him viewers never saw. Thoughtful, articulate, reflective about his journey, he talked openly about wishing circumstances at OCC had been different, about the toxic environment that forced him out. But there's no bitterness in his voice anymore, just acceptance. His legacy isn't the screaming matches people remember, it's the incredible designs, the second chances he created for himself, and the proof that people can change. The kid who grew up in his father's shadow became his own man. The angry builder found peace. The reality TV villain became a devoted father and respected craftsman. Paul Teutul Jr. didn't just survive the destruction of everything he knew, he rebuilt himself into something better. And that might be his greatest design of all.